Hello and welcome to the Weavr Virtual Studio. My name is Nomad and we're going to be utilising the features here in the studio and statistics brought up from the Weavr app to really get in deep to this grand finals matchup between Quincy Crew and Thunder Predator in this best of 5 series. And of course here in the studio to help me do this is Mr. Gary B, a man who needs no introduction over on the analysis deck. He's going to be taking us through it and getting into the deep dive on this series to figure out why Quincy Crew won. And looking at game number 3, there is one man we're going to be looking at, and there's of course MSS. We're going to be getting obsessed with the success of him to make a mess in this third and final game. And of course, when we're looking at Tiny, we're looking at one thing, and that is of course going to be vision, as he was able to utilize his early game vision to put himself in the position where he can really bully the side of Thunder Predator. Now looking at this, when we're looking at the dark areas of the map, that is when someone isn't being seen by the enemy. And that correlates to a kill almost every time the Tiny is missing off the map on this chart. 2 times onto the Storm Spirit, 1 time onto the Disruptor. And that is a key to a good game on early game Tiny, right?
It absolutely is, and he was able to carve himself nice portions of the map with early movements as well. From this point here, we can see him smoke up, go past the Roshan pit, playing into the dire jungle, which is where you usually want that Storm Spirit to be farming or even the Terrorblade to be hiding away. Places observer wards as well, keeping that vision going, and wraps around in behind the Storm Spirit, who had been set up upon by the Ember, to give him a nice opportunity here to actually find the retreating Storm, who was hasted on the way back, and get himself a kill on that mid laner.
Yeah, what I really love about this point as well is that it shows MSS as a really insightful player. He started making that movement long before that even happened. He saw that this guy had himself the haste rune on the Storm Spirit, and he knew that he was going to be putting himself in a vulnerable position, diving the Ember under the tower, so he puts himself in the position to cut him off and get that kill.
And he did it several times as well, coming from a very similar position. MSS was able to use that dark area in the northwest portion of the map and come southeast to be able to find the Storm Spirit over and over again, as there was no real way of escape for the Storm.
Yeah, what I love about that clip is he was initially just chasing the Disruptor because, you know, anyone that came to that mid lane was his. He had control over that mid lane completely this game, but how did he do that?
It was a very interesting little place that they wanted to play around. In the early portion, around that mid-tier 1, there is a high ground observer ward spot northwest of it, and it became a battle for vision, vying for control. Both of these sides really did want that vision in that area, because it was MSS that was cutting that northwestern jungle out of contest for the dire side, while also pushing them down into the bottom right. He spots that he has been spotted by this vision, knows that there is a ward up there because of the kinetic field that Disruptor threw down, calls for SVG to come in, Treant very selflessly sentries, dewards, and then dies, giving away his life for the vision.
Classic 4 position, you know, I've spotted a ward, come and deward it for me. It looks a bit dangerous for me to go in SVG, give your life for it. But here's Tiny reaping the benefits of this play later on as they kill off the Disruptor as he tries to come in and get that deward, which is really great play again from MSS, just defending his 5 positions work to keep that area under their control, and with it, the game. But of course, with a victor, there must be a loser. And unfortunately, Frank, who was supposed to be doing a similar job on the side of Thunder Predator, did not have the same success. At about 30 minutes into the game, this was his performance rating, only 40%, which is a little bit low, but very low when we take it into account what he needed to be doing this game. He had a Terrorblade and a Storm on his team who were both really struggling to have much of an impact in the game, so he needed to be the one controlling up the game, making the plays, and basically doing what MSS was doing for his team, and that wasn't happening, was it? And
it really did come down to the Tiny really kind of closing the net around the dire team, making sure that Axe didn't have time to farm, and again, moving into the dire jungle where he knows that Storm or TB will be farming, initiating, starting the fight, and we see the Axe in the top left corner of the screen wandering around. He doesn't have Blink yet. He's sitting on 1.5k gold, no Blink Dagger because it has been delayed by MSS's map movements and can't initiate in the same way that Tiny can by walking in.
Yeah, so much pressure, such a hard time, unfortunately, made by his Axe. But I mean, it's just MSS show all round, really. He's created so many opportunities, been involved in so many kills, and really kind of controlled the narrative of this game just by his ability to be everywhere at the same time. I think it's really great to see this. And of course, when we open up the Weavr app, we can compare the Tiny and the Axe and have a look at how they both did. And of course, you know, 16 performance index on the Axe, unfortunately, not what you're looking for towards the end of the game there. And as we go into things, it's just the same story, really. Assists, also also shown in MSS's favor, and of course hero damage as well, as Tiny was able to just get those nukes off time and time again and continually lead his team into fights where the Axe was not able to do that.
Yeah, and then towards the end of the game, this Tiny was just always running straight towards his opponents, finding the openings they needed, because he was the initiator. He was the one starting the fight, carving openings as we see him jump onto the Terrorblade, the key target here for Quincy Crew, getting that toss and allowing his team to come in after.
Yeah, even had like a Shiva's Guard at the end of this game, as you see here at the bottom of your screens. I mean, he is just absolutely dominating, just being that bulldozer to run his team into the front ground, which is what they needed to smash through Thunder Predator's defenses and put an end to this rather haphazard ending as Thunder Predator tried to keep hold of their throne, were not able to do so. And that does mean Quincy Crew are the team which are able to take the victory in the third and final game, thus crowning them champions of ESL 1 Thailand Americas, and well deserved of that as well. And I hope we gave you guys some information as to how they did exactly that. But from us here at the Weavr Virtual Studio, it's going to be a goodbye.